I have to say, ladies and gents, it is getting a little bit tiring and a little bit repetitive because Bitcoin in its own world has been doing pretty okay. It had the support level at 107. It's now dropped by about $30,000 from its all-time high, which puts it at a moderate 24% correction from the all-time high. And we're now falling into a really strong zone of support on the chart. Now, at the same time, this is incredible. Again, like, if you're bearish, look, yes, you're getting the continuation downwards. You're getting that, like, one factor, which arguably is the most important one, that the price is dropping down. But you're not getting any other signs that are confirming your thesis here, because Bitcoin dominance doesn't give a shit. Bitcoin dominance is dropping down. You know, one of the things I ask you guys to do on this channel, if you want to analyze the markets with me, is I ask you guys to take a, logic first approach here. You know, we don't want to be emotional about it, and I certainly don't want any of your existing biases kicking into this discussion we're about to have here. But if you know that Bitcoin dominance is going to be a clear representation of the level of confidence that people have in the market, meaning, in other words, that if Bitcoin dominance is going down, people are willing to diversify risk and actually take more risk on. If you can see that, then this is a really big deal, because Bitcoin has been in trouble for quite some time. And that's, I mean, just in terms of its actual price action, Bitcoin dominance has started to rally up since about over here, but Bitcoin's been trending down since, early October now. So it's been just over a month that Bitcoin's been trending down. And now we're seeing dominance drop off a cliff here. This is a clear sign that money is being invested into altcoins, and the numbers are already clear. We got another nice bounce off the support level for Ethereum. We've got Litecoin moving up very healthily against Bitcoin here. We've got Solana, which I was actually kind of surprised by, to be honest, producing a pretty decent little pump just to start. We've got Cardano holding on to market structure. We've got XRP that forgot about all of this drama and just isn't even participating. We're actually not seeing a crazy outflow from alts right now. Now, look, if you bought the wrong altcoin and you bag holded it all the way down 99%, that's different. And there are tons of alts that have done that. And as I've made very clear on this YouTube channel, as much as it sucks and I feel sorry for you, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't have any impact in real terms on the market. It's just really bad for you. And my heart goes out to you because I've been in that situation many, many times. The only way out, by the way, is by building back slowly and properly. But that's a conversation for another day. And so looking at these altcoins here and looking at the fact that dominance is dropping while Bitcoin is taking a leg down, this is telling me that while sentiment is in the gutter, it's just in the toilet. Sentiment, we had a reading of 16. This is going to update in 3 hours, and it's probably going to be a little bit lower. While sentiment is really, really bad, we're not seeing that reflected with real money moves in the market right now. That's the first thing I want us to pay attention to today. The second thing I want us to pay attention to today is the S&P 500. The S&P 500 saw a big drop down on its open today. It closed at 67.40 roughly, but it opened at 66.70. So that's definitely a pretty sizable drop, but it did recover most of that drop here as well, which is fantastic. And we're seeing this reflected on some of the stocks that I've been looking at, like Tesla, for example, slid all the way down to 380, but it's now recovered back above 400. So there is a bit of a recovery here happening for the S&P 500, and the problem for us is that Bitcoin isn't seeing any of that right now. So we're going to get to that in just a second. But sticking to the S&P 500, now that we're coming close to the end of this weekly session, this candle closes in 48 minutes. I want to take a look at this weekly candle, and I want to break down what we're seeing here. Because what we have right now on this weekly candle for Bitcoin, for the S&P 500, is essentially a, kind of like a doji, a sort of, just a consolidation candle, basically. The last candle was a little bit of a pullback. This candle was a candle that tested the top and bottom of the range, and we're kind of just in the middle. So it's equilibrium. And what's really important to understand about an equilibrium is that this is happening inside of a prevailing very strong bull market. Now, people have a lot to say. News articles have a lot to say. People on Twitter, your friends on WhatsApp, everybody has big statements to make about, like we've broken a moving average now, so it's Armageddon. But the bottom line with the S&P 500 here is that this index is consolidating inside of an uptrend. And consolidation inside of an uptrend is historically an extremely bullish thing. Now, you might not perceive that as bullish. You might perceive that as weakness and, as the market being in a bad place, and all the power to you if that's what you see here. But if you do study anything in technical analysis, open up page 1, chapter 1 of any book, and there's a great one down here in the description, then you're going to know that that's not really how it works. And actually, moving up and then kind of pausing, doing something a little bit like this is actually really bullish, and it leads to your next moves up quite consistently. Sometimes it doesn't. There are exceptions to it. This was a big exception right here. But even then, for the most part, this rule is going to hold very, very true, and it's even more clear when you zoom out onto time frames like the daily. We might produce a little bit of a move up and then a small pullback, but I mean, this is the S&P 500 staircase to heaven pattern, and it's just kind of moving sideways a little bit here. So I'm sorry, but it ain't concerning. If we're looking at the tech sector leading the stock market, that's also not slowing down. One of the big things I've been telling you guys about, and you only really get this if you actually pay attention, and I'm paying attention, so I'm doing this for you, is it when you're building out this technology, what these guys have been doing, Nvidia and so on, all the big companies that have really gained a lot in their stock valuations, a lot of them, what they're doing is they're setting up infrastructure for deploying tech later on. That means that the real benefit of what they're doing hasn't actually come through yet, and the gains that they've seen are speculative. Now, if this was a hardware product and it was going to take time to ramp up production and it was going to take resources and so on, then sure, this might be a little bit of a drawn-out journey. But it's not. This is software deployment. And software deployment can happen very quickly. It will happen throughout the course of the rest of 2025 and throughout the course of 2026. And that is an environment that, as far as I can see, should allow the stock market to keep moving up. This is also moving into a period where quantitative tightening is ending, interest rates are continuing to drop, and they've been dropping for over a year now. There are a lot of factors stacked up against you if you're a bear. And one thing I really want to draw your attention to is if you really have been super bearish calling for an end to this market cycle, I mean, this sentiment has been latent in this space now since at least this range here. At least. It's actually, the sentiment has been ongoing since here, and there was even a little bit down here. I'm not really going to focus on this because this was very early stages for the bull market, but this is back when Bitcoin was trading between 25 and 30K. We've had people saying this since back then. But it really got loud in this range, especially on some of these moves here, and it got even louder over here. Okay, when this drop happened, it was actually like fully GG for the market. Most people don't remember because they have the memory of a goldfish in this market, but it was actually like fully GG and people getting ready to pack their bags down at the low here, which is so silly because we were just backtesting the previous all-time high exactly as we had predicted on this YouTube channel. Guys, I need you to get this. If you're going through this market here and everything is taking you by surprise and you don't even understand why we're falling down to the levels we're falling down to, then you may as well imagine yourself running around in this game as a chicken whose head has been cut off. Completely fucking clueless, looking to give your money to the next guy that's a better, more competent trader than you. Don't be that guy. If you want to be that guy, you are better off quitting right now. Pack your fucking bags, take your losses, and go home. You're better off quitting if you want to be that guy. If you want to really understand what's going on inside of the market, you need to digest the charts properly for what they are, taking sentiment out of it, taking how you feel out of it, and see the market for what it is. You know, with these moves here, we've had multiple people inside of our BroFi group taking short positions, writing this thing down, and still in those positions right now. We've had members paying off their fee of joining, and that's all thanks to the phenomenal analysis and trade updates and so on that we've been putting out inside of BroFi VIP. This is linked in the description, and it's $100 for you to join. And if you feel like you're kind of navigating these markets in a way where things aren't really making sense, it doesn't have to be that way. It's not that way. We're not feeling that way inside of this group. We're discussing everything that's going on inside of this group as time goes on. You're getting a direct group chat where you've got access to me. I'm always in that chat, and we're always cutting it up, discussing strategies. I'm giving you guys my proven tools and strategies, and you're getting those weekly shows where I'm breaking down my trade setups, having in-depth Q&A sessions, roast my chart feedback, amazing stuff. We just did our last weekly show yesterday, and we've updated the course as well with our technical analysis module. So get in right now. It's $100. You're price locked for a full year, but we're not even charging you for renewals until we're out of early access. So you've still got a lot to benefit from here for a very, very low price. These fees are increasing to $500 a month. Eventually, we're going to be increasing them bit by bit, and the next next increase is coming soon because that course is building out here. So check this out with the link in the description down below. Well worth getting into right now. This is the time. The market is going crazy. There are opportunities here, and you best believe that we are taking advantage of them inside of BroFi. We've already had quite impressive results inside of that chat as well, which is really, really cool. So definitely get yourself inside if you're looking for, you know, a home to kind of have a safe, sensible mindset as a trader. I mean, you know, there's no BS in this group chat. We're really keeping it locked down in terms of sentiment and keeping it tight in terms of, you know, just how we approach the market. We don't want to slip into any degeneracy. That's why you've got me and my insiders that I trade with. We're going to keep you guys on track, which is really, really important as well. But here with this market, you know, we've got our support level at, you know, 91 down to up to about 94. So we're basically just kind of hitting this range right now. And the reason that I'm outlining this level in particular is because it does line up with the Fibonacci retracement, this golden pocket here from about 91 to 94. This is a very, very nice Fibonacci level, and it's actually already drawn on this chart. So that's the box here that we've been looking at. We knew that this was a resistance zone, and we hit that perfectly, and now we're falling into the support zone. Obviously, this period here is where you're going to panic if you're a noob or you don't really know what's going on. But if you were inside a BroFi, you're going to know that, well, this was resistance and this is support, so we knew we were going to teleport straight down to this level, and that's exactly what we've been doing in this market so far. So I think this is looking beautiful right now, because at this point, I'd rather just get this fucking correction over with. Because the thing is, if we are able to produce a pump at this point, we're going to have to really watch closely to see where this pump goes. If this pump stops short at a level like 107 and then gets rejected, we're potentially looking at breaking this low and then truly being inside of a bear market. However, if we're able to rise up and actually get above a level like this, maybe even back test it as support, that would be a really strong sign that the bull market is back, and all of you guys were, again, just going excessively emotional in this market when you didn't need to. That's the first perfect scenario for Bitcoin. The second perfect scenario for Bitcoin would be maybe we don't get this back test, but we just absolutely smash through 117 resistance. That would also cure this market here. Now, is that possible at this stage? Well, if the S&P 500 is consolidating, and it's consolidating inside of an uptrend, and it's going to take a leg up, that is probably going to benefit Bitcoin in some way. It has benefited Bitcoin throughout this year, even when Bitcoin was trading in a very lackluster way against the S&P 500. When Bitcoin wasn't really producing any significant moves compared to the S&P 500, Bitcoin was still being bolstered up by the S&P 500, at least to some extent, at all periods of time in this bull market. So I don't think that's going to stop, and I actually think that real positive correlation where Bitcoin actually starts trending while the S&P is trending at, in all-time highs, I think that's also very possible to come back based on the factors that I've told you guys about. The fact is, and you really can't get away from this, sentiment has been really shot in this market since we got above $90,000 here. And from this point up until now, sentiment has been largely the same. It's been very, very negative the whole time. In fact, right at the top, everybody was bearish. And you're getting a lot of people selling. But I'll tell you what, I've spoken to people that handle OTC buying, and they're not seeing a drop-off in volume. They're not seeing a drop-off in buying action from institutions and big players. It is literally just retail that is losing their mind right now, while the prices are actually kind of just chilling. I'm sorry, but a 24% pullback in Bitcoin is not fucking unusual at all. It's not unusual. We've seen this a lot. Over here, 20% down on Bitcoin. Over here, 20% down on Bitcoin. Over here, 20% down on Bitcoin. Over here, guess what? 20% down on Bitcoin. Over here, 32% down on Bitcoin. Take a look at this. Let me measure this. From this high down to this low, 32%. From this high down to this low, 32%. From this high down to our current low, 24%. This is normal. This is very much within Bitcoin standard behavior. What might not be normal are some of your absolutely dreadful shitcoins dying, but we knew that that can happen. You might not have paid much attention to that, and that might be for various reasons. You're going to have to diagnose why that happened so you don't repeat those mistakes, because like I said at the beginning, the only way out of this mess, if you're in a mess right now, is by building back slowly and properly. If you try and gamble your way back up to break even, you will lose more of your money. You will. It will happen. It's the wrong approach, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work in the short term, and it doesn't work in the long term. So we really, really need to keep this in mind here. But now that we understand that what we've done with Bitcoin so far is well within its character, super, super normal for Bitcoin here, We have to look, like I said, at the next signs. And we're not getting this reflection of fear in the altcoin market right now. The altcoin market is very telling. This isn't some little market anymore that's worth nothing. You know, Bitcoin with itself right now has its dominance sitting at like 60%, right? 59.3%. So very, very high dominance reading on Bitcoin right now. But it's still roughly 50-50. Now, if we take a look at the total market cap of crypto, which I cannot believe I don't know how to find this anymore on this platform. Let me, where is it? I actually don't even know where the global market cap is anymore for crypto. But it doesn't matter because we can do the math on it instead. And with Bitcoin being worth about $2 trillion worth Bitcoin right here, worth about $2 trillion, the rest of the crypto market combined is going to be about 3.6, let's say. So that's still well over $1 trillion in value that's being affected by this 1% move here, which is still, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, actually, this is a 0.7% move in absolute terms, 1.2% in relative terms. But given that the market cap is so high for all of crypto and not, you know, like just all in Bitcoin, this is actually a really, really big move. In other words, what I'm trying to say, because this was really badly worded, my apologies for that. What I'm trying to say is that altcoins represent a really big part of this market with a lot of money. Now, overall, yes, it's still a very small market, but as far as crypto, this is still quite large. You're talking about over $1 trillion spread out across altcoins. That's still a lot of value there. And with all of that, we're not showing fear. We're actually seeing more speculation coming in right now, not less. And so again, you've just got this, and this is what I'm talking about. It's this massive disconnect right now between where the prices are, with the exceptions of shitcoins that never mattered. It's this big disconnect of where prices are now and where sentiment is. And it's just totally disconnected. They're as far apart as they could possibly be. And I've been doing this for 8 years. I've been doing this for 8.5 years. And if there's anything that I've consistently seen proving to be bullish inside of these markets, it's this exact setup that we are in right now as we speak. It's this exact setup where Bitcoin experiences a moderate pullback of 24% in this case. But the market loses its shit. And the market didn't just lose its shit here. Like I said, the market has lost its shit since we entered this range here. Okay, so, you know, that's really, really big. You couple that now with everything that's actually coming out in the real world. You've got banks, big banks in America, taking up stable coins. You've got Cash App using stable coins for transfers, backed by the Solana network, by the way. That's working on the Solana network. You've got tons and tons of speculative interest inside of this space right now, and especially as far as infrastructure is being set up in this space, it is incredible. There is so much right now. The whole adoption thing that we were looking for back in 2017, back in 2018, it has happened to a larger extent than I personally ever predicted. Okay, I've been in crypto since 2017, and I personally did not expect the adoption to go this far, ever. I didn't, because I wasn't one of the guys that said that Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar, and I'm still not one of those guys. I think that's a very silly take in this crypto market. It's very delusional. You know, I don't think that's what we're seeing at all. But I have to say, I am shocked by the infrastructure that's being set up to allow retail and institutional players to get into this space. And if you're telling me that that's going to trigger the 4-year bear market at the end of this 4-year cycle now, while rates are dropping, while QT is ending, while the Fed chair is about to be replaced, I'm sorry, but you've got your head stuck up your ass. Yeah, that's how this is at this point now, because you've got all of these facts stacked up against you with a moderate Bitcoin pullback, and you're choosing the fear narrative that everybody in your group chat is banging on about instead. I mean, since when was trading a fucking herd mentality game where you're supposed to go along with what everybody else says? You know, like, if anything, what we've been trained to do, and certainly what I've been trained to do by my brilliant mentors over the years, is that you buy on the red days and you actually take action when the price is down, because you want to be able to sell it when it's high. And that's what I'm seeing here. Now, as far as invalidations, we've got a couple of invalidations here, and I want to be clear about them. I've covered them a lot, but I want to be clear about them again. The first invalidation we have is here, and this is a really, really important level. If we lose the 618 retracement level, it's not looking great, but it definitely doesn't end things for us, because the 32% correction that we've seen Bitcoin pull off twice here, this is a 25% correction, this is a 32% correction, and this is another Pardon me. This is another 32% correction. If Bitcoin manages to pull off a 32% correction again, that puts Bitcoin at 85K, and this is a very, very good support level. It's a new higher low inside of this market, and it would be a complete flush of the market as well. My ideal situation is we fall down into this level, trade sideways for a little bit, wick down, and then we're done. That would be the ideal situation that this kind of plays out with. That obviously doesn't have to happen this way, but that's what I would love to see, and it would only really be possible if the S&P 500 is able to really wake up and do well. If the S&P 500 is fucked and it's the end of the stock market rally, then that's probably going to spell the end of the Bitcoin rally as well, or what little of a rally there was over the last year. And that is probably going to be a pretty big disaster for the market. But again, that's not where I'm at for the stock market either. I don't see that happening for the stock market. The entire Western economy has been pretty shit since COVID. And especially after all of that inflation and money printing happened that, you know, benefited a lot of people during the whole pandemic response. The market's been very shit. The economy's been very shit. But actually, I shouldn't say the markets have been shit. The markets haven't. The markets have kept going up because companies are doing well. And companies are going to keep doing well with this takeoff of AI. So I don't see how that's going to result in the S&P 500 getting weaker. I just think that it might mean that other stocks comparative might not carry the S&P as hard, but that's still not unusual. We know that it's the tech stocks that have been carrying the stock markets in the United States here. So I still think that we're in good posture with that in mind as well. So it's all about, for me, seeing these support levels here. We've got this 618 retracement level here that we're about to fall into at the time of recording. We've got this invalidation down here at 85K. This one's also very important. And we've got the final level down here at 75. Now, this is a 40% correction, and this is also still well known to be tolerated by Bitcoin. Now, again, really, really important that if these big numbers scare you and you feel like, shit, this is crazy, this doesn't make sense, then you're not cut out to be in crypto. Crypto is a very volatile asset class. It always has been, and it probably will continue to be for a very, very long time. And yes, that absolutely includes Bitcoin at a $2 trillion market cap. Might I remind you, ladies and gents, that we've got stocks here, you know, let's look at NVIDIA, worth $4.5 trillion that are pulling back by larger percentage amounts than Bitcoin on a regular basis. I need you guys to keep this in mind. This is NVIDIA pulling back by 43%. This is a 43% pullback, and it happens inside of 3 months. If Bitcoin did this, you guys would go fucking mad. Yeah, I don't know how many of you guys would go mad. I don't know how many of you guys would keep it stable, but a lot of you would lose your fucking minds if Bitcoin did what a tech stock is doing in this market. And this was not a long time ago. This was only earlier this year. This was in response to the tariff drama from Trump earlier, from February and so on, around that period. That's what triggered this big drop here for the S&P 500, for NVIDIA. And what did it matter? I mean, from that all-time high to the next all-time high, it was still a 40% increase. That is incredible. That is a huge move up here for this stock. And if Bitcoin were to pull off something like this, it really wouldn't get digested very well by crypto right now. Why? Because traders are just overly emotional. They've lost a lot of money and they're hopeless, right? But again, if you think that's going to make a bearing on the market, you've got another thing coming, mate, because that's not how these markets work. Anyway, we've got a lot of price action here. There are a lot of quick developments. I'm going to upload this video, and if things keep on moving, I'll already be live. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you don't miss out on this content. Get inside of BroFi right now. It is hot. We are killing it. We're doing very, very well. Inside of this market, nothing is taking us by surprise, and we're taking this market as it comes in a very sober, cool, calm, and collected way. If you want to be inside of this energy, if you want to be able to make sure that my team and I can just do what we can to help keep you on track as well, you're getting direct access to us with this group here. Check it out. It's $100. Prices are going up. Thank you all very much for watching. You know exactly what to do. Hit up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff. And we'll see you all in the next one.